Morning, everyone. I'm Martin, and I guess I should start with Joe Rogan because that's the name of the video. Joe Rogan got it right, and he got it right when he was talking about mixed martial arts, when he says it's extreme split-second decision-making with dire physical consequences, and that's very, very true. So I am a martial artist, mixed martial artist. Started in the 80s when a lot of people started after watching the first Karate Kid film. Did karate, did judo, discovered Wing Chun when I was 17 and got really into that, and then from that boxing as well. Thought that I kind of knew it all until the world of mixed martial arts opened up to me in wrestling, and would go up to London and get destroyed. And I knew then that was a path that I had to take. Really enjoyed the training. Did some cool bits and pieces even back in the early 2000s. I remember going and doing an amateur competition with young Michael Bisping, and I was able to win my category, and I watched him win the heavyweight category. I think it was just a sort of wrestling and body shots and kicks only competition. I don't think there was any strikes to the face. But trained with a lot of mixed martial artists, but made a lot of excuses as to why I wouldn't go in and fight in the cage myself. And it wasn't really until I was much older, and I kind of just got into the habit of making the excuse when I would help sort of train people up, and they said, why don't you get in there? I would say, oh, I'm too unfit, I got too much going on with the kids, I'm too old. And it was only really getting to 42 and thinking, well, that excuse which I've thrown at everyone else, I'm getting to that point now where I need to sit with that excuse for the rest of my life. You know, why don't I want to do it? And the real reason, of course, like a lot of people, was fear. So the 4Js that I listened to, Jocko Willink, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, and I read a lot of Joseph Campbell. Now, Joseph Campbell, he was the gentleman, he was a mythologist, and he wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and it was how he was able to pull myths and stories from different time periods, from different civilizations, that all followed a central theme, this idea of the normal person rising and grabbing hold of that opportunity to become the hero, and to start a journey and adventure that ultimately would lead to the slaying of some big beast or dragon, and there would be people that would help him along the way, and mentors and things like this. It was his observation of this that inspired George Lucas to write Star Wars. Well, one of his sayings which really stuck with me is, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. And ultimately for me, being a martial artist all my life, the thought of going onto a televised mixed martial art cage fight and having everyone I know come and watch me, what if that's one of those moments where actually I don't perform? Because I used to be great under pressure sometimes, and other times I would feel this knot in my chest. It was almost like I was having a panic attack, and I would just shut down. I thought, what if that happens in front of everyone? And I realised that was the fear of me putting myself out there. And then when I realised that, along with that quote, and realised that's the cave I feared to enter, I realised that's a thing that I must do. So 42 years old, did a 7-month hard camp at the Trivium Gym with my best friend training me. Broke a few bones in trying to get ready for it, but ultimately I did fight, I did win, and it was a tremendous experience being able to cope in that situation. I think I won in the second round. I managed to get the guys back and choke him out. The first round I was pretty dreadful, really. It was just me trying to hold my stuff together and talk to my inner child and keep him calm and breathe and just sort of sit in that place. So really, really cool. And another one of Joseph Campbell, when he talks about, really is to be aware of the things. This is Jordan Peterson says this as well. Be aware of the things which you're drawn to. You know, you just have to be switched on. Be aware of both the things that you're drawn to and also the potential dragons that you need to slay. So I've done a few other bits. I did the 75 hard challenge a few years ago, and that was good. I always like looking to try and do something new and challenging, and also the story that I can attach to it as well. But I also do a lot of stuff which kind of has, I guess, no meaning in terms of manifesting it into the real world. I'm a big gamer. I play this game called Dota 2, which I love and hate in equal measure. In fact, I'm going to try and play a game of Dota 2 later and talk about it as I'm playing it. I've tried this a couple of times already, and what I've realised is that a game that I suck in and am terrible at, I can make myself even worse by trying to commentate on what I'm doing at the same time. So that should be really interesting. But I've always been drawn to games. I'm quite a nerd. I quite like fantasy and things like that as well. Things where it kind of engages me in that kid-like sense of wonder, but doesn't really do an awful lot in terms of, well, how do I take all of this and shift it into the real world? But then a good friend of mine, one of my best friends called James, although you would probably know him as Bifties, he has his own channel that he started last month. He started to enter the cave that he feared to enter, which was being able to be out there and talking on the internet, which is always harder when you get that little bit older to do. I'm super proud of him for doing it, and he gets to talk about the things which he loves, which is gaming. And I thought, well, that's one way of crossing over from this online world, which ultimately when you finish you put down, to actually bring something into the actual domain of real life, with other people being able to share in your experience. So that's what I think I'm going to look to do. No idea how I'm going to do it. No idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm very interested in health and fitness. I'm interested in looking to try and grasp these opportunities of facing mild panic and overcoming it, but also the parallels with that with video games. I think that's probably why I like Dota, because in most games there's no real sense of fear. There is if you play a game where you're playing it in hardcore and your character permanently dies, you do get that. But obviously when you're fighting, there's that real danger of being knocked out or hurt, or even worse, just actually being tired and having someone on top of you and just sort of smothering the life out of you. In Dota it tends to be more, oh, if I'm rubbish here, I'm going to get completely flamed. It's quite a toxic community. But I do feel there's some meaning in all of this, which I'd like to explore. So this is my first video. They say you've got to get 100 absolutely dreadful videos of no one watching out there before it kind of makes any sense. I've got no idea where this is going to go, but I can't join the dots going forward, so I can only really start talking, sharing my experiences, and join the dots going back. And as Miyamoto Musashi says, step by step you walk the 1,000-mile road. So this is the first step, and I'll see you guys very soon.